Jalen Brunson has a truly remarkable gift for getting defenders out of position and for getting separation. On dribble drives, it's a combination of a couple of different things. One, he is very good in terms of his start stop quickness. We're going to talk a lot about, I've talked a lot about over the course of the last several years, the idea of like when it comes to guys like Luka, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander kind of falls into this mix too. Jalen Brunson, guys, they have like one defining athletic trait, right? Like for Luka, it's that he's big. He's just so big as a ball handler that if he gets any angle on you, you're just done because he can just use that shoulder to shield you off. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it's these like weird long steps that he can make. He has like really strong hamstrings, and he can just, when he makes that first step, he covers so much ground, and it just kind of makes him really difficult to deal with athletically in that way. Jalen Brunson, it's start-stop quickness. He does have a quick first step. That's the foundational trait. But none of those three guys are what we would consider to be like top-tier athletes, right? Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is far from an Anthony Edwards. Luka Doncic is far from a LeBron James, and Jalen Brunson is far from a Derrick Rose. But all three of those guys are profoundly impactful one-on-one players. Why is that? It's because at their core, they are incredibly fundamentally sound. These are the kinds of guys that actually makes the most sense for you to watch as a young basketball player and to try to emulate. For Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it's dribbling through contact and the ability to relentlessly chain together counter moves. We've talked about this. Like every move is connected to a counter. So a lot of times, even if you slide your feet right and you get in front of Shai, he's just going the other way. And you got to get in front of him again. And then he's going to go the other way. And he's so good at chaining together dribble combinations that like it's kind of just a perpetual motion that's impossible to stay in front of. You look at a guy like Luka. I think Luka and Jalen Brunson both kind of fit this mold where it's the incredible change of pace and the selling of moves. All change of pace is come to a complete stop and freeze the defender, then hit the jets. If you can change pace, you can get defenders to freeze. And if you can get defenders to freeze, you have an opportunity to beat them to a spot on offense. And then the second piece of it is that selling of every single part of every single move. Jalen Brunson, I was watching a ton of film of him this morning. It's amazing how many simple moves he'll use. These guys aren't going to do Kyrie Irving wicked ball handling. But what they are going to do is a very simple move, very well executed. Jalen Brunson will hit really hard in and out dribbles. He'll be sitting in that left hand, and it's an in and out dribble where on the in and out, when he turns, his head, his hips, his shoulders, his eyes, everything is facing towards the left, and then he brings it across. It's a very simple move, but if you sell it with your body and you sell it with your eyes, it's going to work. If I'm staring right at you and I just go like that, if I just do an in and out dribble, it ain't going to work. You're not going to buy into that fake, right? It doesn't matter if I do the most wicked side-to-side crossover of all time if I don't sell the move. Jalen Brunson's awesome at this one too. He'll sit with the ball high in his left hand, and then he'll just cross over. It's like just a little snatch cross, and he can cause a lot of problems in ball screens with that. When he sets up like he's going to go to a ball screen, waits for the defender to get into position to chase over the top, and then he'll whip it across right as the defender buys into it. It's simple. It's fundamental. There's not a whole lot of like, jaw-dropping highlight reel material there in terms of ball handling, but it's damn effective. And it's because of that simple fundamental approach to change of pace and to selling every single part of your moves. And then from there, and again, lastly, I just want to say like, that's why young players need to emulate them. Like, regardless of what level you're trying to play, if you're trying to play in high school, if you're trying to play in college, you're trying to play in the pros relative to whatever level of natural ability you have. These are guys that are not considered to be top tier athletes that are consistently making top tier athletes look stupid with what they can do on offense. These are things that all of you can learn. These are things where like, if you're trying to just play point guard on your high school team and you're 5'8" and you're not overly quick, if you emphasize these fundamental things in skill development, even you can barbecue good athletes at the high school level. It gets a little tougher as you go up, and you need to have some trait that separates you in some way, shape, or form. But at any level, a mediocre athlete can be a damned effective offensive player just by breeding these kind of fundamental approaches to your ball handling and footwork. From there, it's really the versatility of finishing moves for Jalen. He isn't just like like most small guards are like forward facing jump shooters. So they're going to, shoot out of a high hesitation. They might hit an in and out dribble. They might hit a sidestep one way or the other. But there's kind of like all forward facing moves, right? One of the things that makes Jalen Brunson a really impactful shot maker is he can shoot over both shoulders. Like he can get into your body and bump you and then fade over his right shoulder or fade over his left shoulder. Most small guards can't do that. He can take you down to the post. Jalen Brunson can score out of the post. That's something that a lot of smaller guards won't look to do. He can shoot turnarounds. He can occasionally go to a little hook shot out of there that he can make. There is a diversity of shot making ability, in and out going right, in and out going left, sidestep going right, sidestep going left, hard step back, turn around over his right shoulder, turn around over his left shoulder, one-legged fade away, hook shot over his right shoulder. He's got all of that in the bag. And so that allows him to kind of pick and choose the appropriate finishing move for the separation that he gets and for the type of defender that he's going after. And that kind of gives him just the versatility to be a super, super impactful scorer in this league. In a lot of ways, even though their games look different, Jalen Brunson reminds me of the Damian Lillard of this era. Clearly not one of the top tier stars in the league, but firmly in that second tier. A guy who has established himself as one of the best scorers in basketball, one of the best clutch players in basketball, and with enough development as a playmaker to be an excellent game manager. A guy who could clearly lead a championship offense if surrounded by enough talent. But I actually think Brunson has one additional leg up on a guy like a Damian Lillard in his era. To be clear, no one's going to get up here and try to say that Jalen Brunson is a good defender. And he can also be lazy sometimes in the regular season, which, especially in the context of Karl Anthony Towns, can be damaging to a team's defense. But I do think that Jalen Brunson is the kind of guy that you can build a functional playoff defense around with the right personnel. And I do think that's a separator for him compared to many of the other small guards in NBA history, even a guy like Damian Lillard. As I've talked about a lot on this show, there are two different types of bad defenders. Guys who struggle physically and guys who struggle mentally. Now, if you're both, you're dead on arrival. But if you struggle physically, there's a certain amount of like, I can prepare for that. I can game plan around your physical limitations. But mistake making breaks a game plan. Mistake making, I can't prepare for. How do I plan if what I tell you to do in the game plan, I can't count on you to do? Jalen Brunson's going to give up layups and slips on hedges sometimes when he's throwing a hedge. And yeah, when he's lazy sometimes, he won't sprint fast enough out of a rotation, and sometimes those sorts of things can cause issues. But in a big spot, in a big playoff game, I feel like Jalen Brunson will at least stick to the game plan and do his job. That to me is the bare minimum of what you have to be able to build a functional playoff defense around somebody. Take like a guy like Karl Anthony Towns as a counter example, a guy who's very prone to mental mistakes. Even a guy like Karl Towns on the 2024 Timberwolves, an elite defense. Their defense posted a 120 defensive rating in that playoff run when Gobert was off the floor and Cat was on. That was with elite perimeter defenders next to him. Jaden McDaniels and Kyle Anderson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Anthony Edwards. He was surrounded and anchored by elite athletes on the perimeter, and they could not get stops in the postseason. You can't build a functional defensive scheme around a defender who's prone to too many mental mistakes. Jalen Brunson can be lazy sometimes, especially in the regular season, and he certainly has his physical limitations, but he competes and he will execute his part of the game plan. and which I think makes him at least a higher floor defender than many of his small guard peers in recent eras. And again, like I'm not trying to say that Jalen's a good defender. I'm just saying he's a more functional playoff defender than many of his peers in recent years. Jalen Brunson has become one of the best offensive players in the game today. He's an elite scorer who becomes absolutely deadly in crunch time. He's a willing passer and game manager, and with enough of an attention to detail to at least make him workable on the defensive end of the floor. So he comes in at number 9 on this year's list.